Okay, so now let me show you how in certain specific cases, when you have a really narrow target, you have to deal with on a larger scale, right? So for example, you have really a lot of different networks of different size, and you assume there are a lot of active hosts, but still you have to identify only web hosts, right? Or only certain number of TCP services. And for that, of course, you can use Nmap. You can approach the problem universally, but it will take some time. Yeah, it will take much more time than a specifically designed tool would use. Okay, so for example, in this specific case, let's say we need to Nmap our networks over ports 80 and 443. Yeah, that's it. Okay, and let's say we don't ping anything and we don't resolve anything, so we just go through the networks, scan them by portions of 512 as far as I see. It takes some time. Yeah, so over 3 minutes will pass before we scan the first 500 of them. Okay, we can do some scene scanning, of course, and see what happens. How fast is it? Number of portions is the same, and the timing is pretty much estimated as 3 minutes. Okay, it's not very different. So we are not really happy with that, right? So let's see what another tool can do for us. So first of all, it's using some portion of Nmap options, yeah. But beyond that, it can be configured to use a specific rate. This is the number of packets per second, and it can grab banners and can write it down into a file and can export to XML, for example. So let's see what happens when we mass scan this networks list at a rate of 2,500 packets, and the ports are the same. Okay, so as you probably can see, it will finish in 2.5 minutes. I mean, it will finish all the networks, yeah, so it will go through all the networks and identify all the ports open, yeah, for numbers 80 and 443. Okay, so quite impressive, huh? While it scans the networks, let me introduce this conception of rate, right, limiting. So it's quite critical for your network. It's not critical for client's network because if the number of networks is large, as you can see, it's not going in order. Yeah, so the hosts are rarely in the same network, neighboring host in this list. So it randomizes the destination somehow, but the source suffers anyway. So if you will put large rates, your uplink will melt down. So if you're doing something at the same time, for example, streaming video or playing a video game online, that most probably won't be really enjoyable in large rates. So specifically specify the rates that are relevant to your uplink throughput, yeah, because you will be the one who suffers from large rates. So in most cases, if you want to do that fast and the number of networks is large, 2,500 is quite okay. For small networks, 100 packets per second is more than enough. Yeah, so we are already at 3/4 of our address space, which is kind of cool. Yeah, I hope you admit it. So here you can specify multiple IP addresses and multiple ports. And you can use ranges as well, and it can be exported and then processed. So this is when you are in a specific engagement, like a web application penetration test, for example, for a certain client. This is way much faster than using Nmap for service discovery. And especially in bug bounties, because there you normally are paid for application vulnerabilities and specifically for web application vulnerabilities. And this manner of network discovery is is more than relevant for bug bounty engagements. Okay, so here we are. We have all this list. We didn't save it anywhere, but as you see with MaskScan, it's not a big problem. You can repeat this anytime. Okay, so and there is this second tool. It's called ZMap. For that, you will need to provide at least a port number. And what happens now? I didn't give it anything than just a port number. Yeah, it's possible that someone of you has already figured out that it's just starting to scan random hosts in random order, just random internet hosts. Of course, it crashes at some point because yeah, that's not a very easy thing to do. But in case you have networks, yeah, you can limit its activity, of course, but unfortunately it is not so flexibly configurable as MaskScan and Nmap. So you will have to put the ports there, you will be able to output the files, but it's not really possible to provide the list of networks, right? So it's quite flexible in a specific scan parameters, like when you are going through ports, you can change all these parameters. You can change IPs, you can spoof them, right? You can change source ports and so on. But when it comes to network scoping, it's not really that flexible. So for that, you will just require all the networks to be placed here, separated by spaces. That's it. So you can do that easily. So for these networks, what we can do, we can put them like this into a line. Just copy all of them and then ZMap over port 80. See what happens. Yeah, let's limit the rate to. Rate is 2,500. Here we are. You don't get any specific information about what's going on the hosts, but it's kind of fast. Okay. There is no way to see the progress deliberately, but here we have some statistics. Hit rate is 3%. This means that just 3% of all the IP addresses that are possible to cover in these networks are responding anything on this port. Quite cool. We are already at a half of this scan. Yeah, and shows us the estimated 31 seconds left. Yeah, this is the first time during this section when my fans are showing some signs of activity. Yeah. So here is some fatal error, but I think it's just it's just it didn't successfully send one packet. Okay, this is already an error, because normally it's not expected to drop anything going outbound. So I hope this gives you an idea how many different ways are to discover assets on the networks and discover open ports and services and fingerprint them. Please use these tools carefully, although they are not directly aimed at exploitation of specific vulnerabilities or getting undocumented access to networks and systems. They might be harmful to some legacy assets or some systems that were not designed with security in mind. So keep this in mind every time you use them, and everything will go well. See you around.